Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today for On the Edge with Deneen Dias at Botkeeper. I have the pleasure today to spend the next 30 minutes talking with John Yeager from Bennett Thrasher. John, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. As Deneen said, my name is John Yeager. I'm with Bennett Thrasher. We're a top 75 CPA firm in the U.S. I lead the business transformation services outsourced accounting practice for Bennett Thrasher.
Thank you, John. I was trying to think this morning when I was preparing for this, how long have we known each other? Has it been 8 years?
Something like that, yep. When I was at a previous CPA firm and we were starting to think about an outsourced accounting practice, I think you and I connected at that point and have been connected ever since.
You came to my office, we got to know each other, and I feel like for the last 8 years, we've learned a lot together. I've learned a lot from you, but I feel like we've learned a lot from each other, right? We've really grown.
Absolutely.
And you're right. I think this is the third firm that you've been at where I've worked with you. And so I think a really good place to start, because you called me and said, I'm going to Bennett Thrasher and I'm going to build this out. And the leadership is bringing me in with the really clear goals in mind. So I think that's a really nice place to start is, can you share with us, why they brought you in 3 years ago and what the goal was 3 years ago, what the thinking was?
Sure. So the reason they brought me in, I think, was pretty straightforward. I think as probably everybody on this call would think that the outsourced accounting technology implementation practice is one of the fastest growing practices in the U.S. for CPA firms. I mean, obviously you were at CPA.com, kind of helping lead that charge, and lots of firms were investing and growing and those kind of things. And so BT had a QuickBooks practice that was doing okay, and they had previously had a NetSuite practice, and that practice kind of was not going all right, so they kind of folded that. And so when we started talking about the Intact practice, Sage Accounting Partner Program, so they brought me on to give them really a strategic viewpoint of what was going on in the industry and how we could take advantage of the trends in the business, how we could grow a practice that would obviously be profitable and take advantage of the growth opportunities. Bennett Thrasher had been a fast growing firm. I think we doubled in 4 years without acquisition. It was all organic. And so we had lots of clients that were, that could take advantage of a lot of the offerings that we could offer. So they were excited about it, and I was excited about it. It was a great firm and a great fit. And so it was a kind of an easy decision for me when we started talking about it.
Well, you really were off to the races from the get-go. I mean, leadership was completely involved. Partners were really aligned. Certainly had right-sized clients that needed the business transformation services. And so I saw you kind of with the Sage Intact Accountants program start with those larger clients, and you were getting lots of conversations. So I think it's kind of cool that you're able to start with the bigger businesses, with the larger GL in this space. And I'll tell you, like, the biggest questions I've had through the years from firms that I've worked with is, Deneen, who do you know? Who can I buy? Who can I acquire? Build it or buy it. And Bennett Thrasher definitely just bought it with you, and you brought that all in, and you're off to the races. But I would love for you to share what that 3-year journey has looked like. What was the first year versus the second year versus this year?
Sure, absolutely. So I like to call our first year, year zero. Year zero for us was, kind of in nature. I had, much like, as long as I've known you, I've known my partner firm that helped me with technology enablement, IFI professionals. And so the model that we had together is that I could come in, think strategically about where I wanted this to go, which niche offerings we wanted to offer, how we're going to staff this, what the revenue stream was going to look like, those kind of things. And without making a huge investment in people, process, and technology, I could partner with them, and then I could really be the evangelist within the firm to go have conversations with partners about, this is what we can do. This is the kind of technology we can bring. This is the kind of process and design and outcomes and output and those kind of things. And so, like I said, year zero was me kind of evangelizing the firm and trying to find a couple of, kind of key clients that we could bring on to be, kind of the first in line to do that. And so we were able to do that. We started with a couple of reasonably complex clients, maybe not the best place to
Go
start,
big or
and
go home
when
from
you're
the
starting an outsourced
get-go.
planning practice,
Yeah.
go big, go home. My first client had 200 plus entities, and
Wow.
my second client is probably up to about 30 entities. So we didn't start simple, but I learned a lot. And so towards the end of year zero, then I started thinking about, okay, now year one, so to speak, is the year of building a little bit of infrastructure. And so we brought on more clients. I brought in a head of accounting operations to kind of run the bookkeeping group. We hired a couple of bookkeepers. Then we eventually kind of transitioned some of the bookkeeping back to our group, obviously. And so we then grew, but that was kind of, we didn't have all the processes we needed. And we were just, kind of making it work and learning as we go and those kind of things. And then this year has been, and we're trying to put the processes in place, right? We're developing the process and putting those in. And so then what that's led into is, year two, which is kind of in the middle of our fiscal year, is 6/30. So I'm kind of towards the middle of year two in my mind. And year two is to finish the process, kind of finish those processes, putting those in place. But it's really one of growth. So we've started targeting, a certain niche, a certain vertical. We've started doing more marketing, and we started adding some ancillary services, to the pot as well.
Great.
Kind of going back. Yeah, I was going to say, kind of going back a little bit. When I first got on, we had the QuickBooks practice, but I had asked not to oversee that just yet. It was going fine. There was no problems over there. And I wanted to focus on this side of it. But about 6 months ago, I took over the QuickBooks practice, so now I run that whole deal.
I want to dig into that. So every time you say year zero, I chuckle. But the reason I chuckle is I think a lot of firms think it's just going to be easy and that they're going to put this in place and they're going to thrive because everybody else is. You're hearing, out there that CAS is driving firm growth and it's 30% growth year after year. And okay, let's get started. But you've got to have that foundational year zero where you just sort of do the internal education, start with a couple of clients, learn, make your mistakes, right? Perfect it. And then what you're saying is your actual year one was putting the processes in place. Okay, we've gotten started. Now let's focus on that process. And then what you're saying year two, which I would say is year three, but year two is now the growth year because you've learned a lot and you're ready, right? Now you're ready to really to grow. And in all of that, you now have taken over the successful QuickBooks practice. So can you really share how you see it as being two different practices and why you felt ready now and leadership felt ready now for you to lead that as well?
Well, what I'm trying to do is not make it two practices. I think it was two silos, and we were at the firm kind of looked at it as two silos. And we got this QuickBooks stuff over here, and we got Sage Intacct stuff over here, and never the two shall meet. And my view is the client doesn't really care. The client just wants to know you can take care of them at whatever stage they're in. And so my view is what we need is a continuum of offering. So, we could bring in really small clients. We could work with them as they grow. And as they potentially outgrew the QBO platform, we could then bring them into Intacct. And then as they grew in Intacct, then we could build integrations and bring in other systems, those kinds of things, and stay with them pretty much as long as they're around. They generally, you're not going to outgrow that platform. So I want to create this system that clients can come in and grow with us and never have to leave or change.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, so you have always been progressive and you have always been an early adopter of technology. I mean, you're the person I call when there's a new player around. And I'm calling John going, what do you think about this new player in this space? And So you've always been the change agent and embrace the technology and embrace the change, but that's been very hard for traditional firms. And so I'd love for you to share, you've now taken over the QuickBooks team. How did you handle that, and how is that going?
It's going well. I go back to my year zero, right? So, part of my year zero of the QuickBooks team is I needed to understand what was happening, right? What the
Yeah.
metrics are saying, what the staff looked like, what the capabilities were, what kind of clients we had, and those kind of things. And so I'm kind of in the middle of all that. And the leadership team on the CAS side has been great, helped me a lot to understand what's going on. And together, I'm now bringing a leadership group together that encompasses both the QBO platform and the Intact platform, so that we can think as a group about how to leverage resources, leverage technology, those kind of things. And so that's kind of my plan. But on the QuickBooks side, they were certainly taking advantage of Bill.com, and QBO obviously is the main platform. Bill.com doing a lot with Expensify and some other expense management tools, but no real kind of standard tech stack, I'll say, other than maybe Bill.com. And so we started to take a look at what that looks like. Should we add, or there's a lot of reporting tools out there. We haven't decided on which one's the best one yet, but I think there's an opportunity to enhance the reporting side on the QBO side, on the QBO practice with better reporting. And then obviously, we started experimenting a little bit with Botkeeper in the past year or so. And when I came over, obviously our connection allowed us to go deeper into that. And we decided to make an investment in Botkeeper and bring that as part of our tech stack.
So I thank you, because I was super excited when I got to Botkeeper to see that Bennett Thrasher had already started using Botkeeper. But I think, with you and I really sitting down and thinking through, how you could use our tech and talent to automate even more, to make you even more profitable. And I'm thrilled to see that has helped you really go all in. But you have a really good strategy around how you want to use the Botkeeper team, tech and talent, and in some of the verticals that you weren't planning on growing, now you can focus on with using Botkeeper as the engine. So can you share that strategy, please?
Sure, absolutely. So when we first started talking to the folks at Botkeeper, one of the things that impressed me was their willingness to think strategically with us and think about how they can help us grow our business. So it wasn't selling software. It was how can we partner together to help you grow your business. And some of the things that you guys have done in terms of some of the incentive programs you've put in place, and some of the ways that we've been able to strategically work together, some best practices you've shared, those kind of things have been very helpful. And so, and the other thing to me is it's a very transparent relationship in terms of the technology is there, the bots and those kind of things are there, but you also recognize that maybe it's not 100% where it needs to be. And so we got to supplement it with some people, right? But at the end of the day, me as a client, I don't care how it gets done, as long as it gets done and it gets done at the price that you guys, that we've talked about. So I know that you guys are investing in the technology and that you're going to continue to increase and improve the technology. And I'm excited about that. And that's one of the main reasons that I wanted to work with you guys. From a go-to-market strategy, we're very Atlanta, which is where I am, it's not Silicon Valley, but it's a very progressive technology town. A lot of investment in technology. A lot of money's going on. There's 2 or 3 incubators in town, and then we're very involved as a firm in that space. We have a partner in our firm who kind of leads that effort. We're involved in pretty much all the technology initiatives in the town. And to this point, we were pretty limited in what we could do for them. Obviously, there's no audit business to be done there. There's tax business, but again, that's a very small part of what these folks need. And so with Botkeeper now as a part of our partnership, we can help those clients, the startup community, bring them an affordable but efficient and effective solution. And so, we can get in with them early and we think it can grow. Now, obviously, I always looked at the tech business as kind of a portfolio look, right? So you might have 10 clients and 4 of them might go out of business pretty quickly and 3 of them might be bought pretty quickly. And so you got 3 or 4 left. Well, if you're in there enough, then those 3 or 4 can turn into good, really long-term clients. And so that's been our approach to there. So having a solution that we can partner with our tax folks to bring a tax and accounting solution to that startup community is really important to us and something we're focused on.
I think it's great. You and I, when we initially talked about this, I think it's a wonderful strategy because a lot of you were saying that you were partners had these relationships and you were getting these leads and you were having to say no, not wanting to say no because they're too small and it just didn't make sense with the way that you were set up. But it was painful for you to say no because
it's probably more they were saying no to us because our fees weren't competitive for what they needed. So.
Right. And right. So now you're able to work say yes and work it out in a way that you can still help these businesses because these fintech companies can go from 0 to $1 million in a month, right? And then you're in and you're part of that strategy and you're part of the growth. And then you have that relationship where you're able to go take them from $1 million to 2, to 3, or to acquisition. And I think it's really a wise strategy that with automation, right, and outsourcing, you're really able to be profitable in this space, but also be smart about how you can say yes to new business. And with that in mind, I'd love for you to share your cash vision. So we've talked, and what would you say, 2.5 million now?
Total across both groups, about 3.5.
Okay. And so I know your goal is to go to 5 million, and then eventually the firm goal for you is to go to 10 million. So it's doable though. That's the thing. When I'm talking with firms that are really focusing on this and they have a strong leader like you who's driving this and they have the partners in place that support this, it is doable. But I'd love for you to talk about, that vision and how you feel you're on the right trajectory to get there.
Sure. I think what my vision is I look at the value stack, right? So you start with implementation, then you have transaction processing, and then you have the technology platform, and you have the controller level services, and then ultimately you have the financial analysis, the kind of CFO insights and reporting and those kind of things. And so so then I look at that tech stack and I say, okay, what part of the tech stack do I want to get involved in, right? So obviously I'm not going to develop technology. So I go find good technology partners like you guys and Intact and QBO that do what you do. And to a certain extent, like Botkeeper, for instance, you're helping really further commoditize the transaction processing, right? I mean, there's, we're getting the transactions in place and we're getting the coding in place, and that's helpful. And so my goal is I don't want to have to invest a lot in resources to process transactions, right? So that's where you guys come. So then that allows me to then where then do I invest, right? I want to invest more in the upper tier, the upper value stack of the platform to say all that I do, starting with the technology, the transaction processing, and those kind of things. All of this is really to be CFO enabled, right? Yeah. I mean, you can put all the systems and processes in place you want to, but if the output is not helping your client run their business better and make better decisions in a more timely manner, then it's all for nothing, right? And so as a CPA firm, I look at, okay, what parts of this can be automated? Where can I eliminate staff? Not eliminate staff, but deploy them in a more productive manner. And so, where I think we need to, be is where we're at the front end of the stack to really help our clients grow. If they have a CFO, then we're enabling all their dashboards and reporting and getting it ready for them and help them understand it. and then they can go and make decisions. If we're if we're their outsourced CFO, then we can help them do that.
Right.
So that's really the vision, is to have the machine built and work with our partners that can do that more effectively, efficiently, cost effectively than we can. And then we really focus on the output side. How can we help clients transform their businesses and those kind of things? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. Well, and I think it's great that you've already kind of gone through your process year, and now you've got that growth year for this year. So with that in mind, tell me, who would your next hire be?
That's a good question. I think I'm pretty close to hiring our first, what I'll call, senior client advisor. So that is on that side that I talked about, someone who can work with a client, help them understand the data, the output, still get into some of the weeds and stuff, but more senior in that they can then help the client. I mean, when we come in, there's a lot of changes that are being made. There's a lot of change management that occurs because we do things differently, and so we do things differently so we can bring that output to the table. And so that change management through kind of staff management, helping the client break down silos, those kind of things are kind of what I'm looking for. So that's kind of the next hire that I have. So we've still got to do the work. So as scale dictates, I'll bring in staff and senior to do the work. But then the other thing I'm doing is by vertical too. So we're in the process of launching a QSR, quick serve restaurant vertical. And so I probably would bring somebody in that has served as a controller in that space, that could leave that accounting operations and understand what the key metrics are and how that whole world works and those kind of things. So that's really where we're kind of targeted.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that's not what a lot of firms have. They don't have that type of talent, that data analytical talent, but not only that, bringing all that data in and being able to analyze it, but having someone be really strong in the verticals that you're going after. I think they help clients so much more in the space that clients are hungry for help. Clients don't have that talent either. And I also see that type of talent then has an impact on the rest of the talent, because they learn, right? They really understand that vertical better, and they really understand what being analytical and advisory is like. So I thank you for your time today. We do have about 5 minutes left. I'd love to open it up to some questions. Della, has there been some interactive questions throughout this time that we can ask John while we have 5 more minutes with him?
Not currently, but if anybody would like to put some in. Oh, here's one. What was the first workflow that Botkeeper was utilized for?
With Bennett Thrasher?
Yes.
Yeah, John, do you want to share?
AP transactions, the AP transaction side. So helping us, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, and then they ask, what was the workflow and time before Botkeeper, and how did the change evolve after Botkeeper?
So, to be perfectly transparent and honest with that, we're in that process, right? We're in what I call year zero. So we've got the tool in place. We're implementing it now. We have 8-10 clients on this now. And so I'm in the process of evaluating what that looks like, because there's changes that we have to make internally as well to get the most advantage, to take the most advantage. And again, I go back to what I talked to Denise about earlier, which is one of the reasons we came with Botkeeper is because of their willingness to work with us on a strategic basis to help us understand best practices and those kind of things. So my anticipation is that we're going to save 30-40% cost effectiveness on the AP transaction side, and then I can deploy those people to do higher value things. That's my goal and my expectation, and that's a shared expectation I have with the folks at Botkeeper. But we're in the middle of doing that, and we're in the middle of evaluating that.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. Whoever asked the question, I think it's really, really important, because I see a lot of firms start using technology, but they don't embrace the change that needs to be embraced to take advantage of the technology. So a lot of the times firms will join an accountants program and set up one client and two clients, and the process doesn't change to really take advantage of all the benefits you can get. Because I believe, the way I think about Botkeeper is we're part of the tech stack. We're one more piece of the tech stack for firms to use to automate and close the books faster, to free up your staff to be able to do the higher level closing of the books and discussions, right? And so I think Bennett Thrasher was a great example where the team set up a couple of clients, but didn't really partner with us to take advantage of all that we could do. And so then when you and I kind of got involved and we sat down and said, the way it is now, it just doesn't make sense. It's not making sense. And so do we want to continue down this path together or not? And we dug into it and said, yes, let's really continue down this path together, but let's continue to work with the team to put those change management, right, and process in place to take advantage of all that Botkeeper can bring to the firm to free up your team. And so I'm very thankful for the opportunity to continue to learn together, to continue to grow together, to continue to have that dialogue. At Botkeeper, you have a growth partner. All of our firms have a growth partner that really wants to have that weekly conversation and make sure that we're helping you meet your goals and your objectives. And I think we're on a good path towards that. So I thank you, John. Is there anything you want to say in closing?
Just if there's any interest or needs, we're certainly available to help. You can reach me at john.yeager@btcpa.net, and you can find us at btcpa.net as our website. I'm all over LinkedIn and social media, so you can find me there if you have any questions. Happy to answer those questions, any follow-up, and anything I can do to help, kind of help you guys grow your practices and grow your businesses.
Yeah, you've got some great blogs too. I was looking at your website last week. You've got some really good content and really good blogs on your website. So I encourage everybody to go there. And I would say where you thrive, John, you mentioned, right, startup technology companies, multi-entity restaurants, multi-entity high net worth. Where
Real
else
estate.
are some of your, are those the key ones?
Real estate.
Real estate, yeah, that's another great one. Okay, great. Well, I thank you so much, and I thank everybody for participating today. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it. Take care.